Henry Miller, one of the most audacious and liberating voices in 20th century literature, lived a life as tumultuous, erotic, and defiant as the prose that made him infamous. Born Henry Valentine Miller on December 26, 1891, in Yorkville, Manhattan, to German-American parents, Heinrich Miller, a tailor, and Louise Neating, a stern, neurotic homemaker, he grew up in Brooklyn's Williamsburg and Greenpoint neighborhoods amid a strict Lutheran household that prized order and restraint. From early childhood, Miller rebelled against this rigidity, finding escape in books, street life, and an insatiable curiosity about sex and human folly. His father's alcoholism and eventual mental decline, coupled with his mother's emotional volatility, left deep marks, fostering both a lifelong resentment of bourgeois conformity and a complex, often Oedipal attachment to women who echoed her domineering traits. Miller's formal education ended abruptly. He briefly attended the City College of New York, but dropped out after a few months, preferring self-directed reading. Dostoevsky, Nietzsche, Knut Hamsun, and later the occult and Eastern mysticism became lifelong touchstones. In his 20s, he drifted through odd jobs: cemetery worker, proofreader, Western Union messenger manager, while marrying 5 times and fathering 3 children. His first marriage, in 1917 to Beatrice Silvers Wickens, a pianist, produced daughter Barbara. The union dissolved amid poverty and Miller's infidelities. He lived a bohemian existence in Greenwich Village, supporting himself and Beatrice by playing piano in speakeasies during Prohibition. The pivotal turning point came in 1928, when Miller met June Mansfield, a mysterious bisexual taxi dancer who became his second wife in 1924 and the catalyzing force of his literary awakening. June recognized his talent, encouraged his writing, and supported him financially, often through dubious means, including relationships with other patrons, most notoriously Gene Kronsky, and later the wealthy art patron Roland Friedman. Under June's spell, Miller quit his job at Western Union in 1924, beginning a decade of near destitution devoted to writing. Their marriage was a whirlwind of passion, jealousy, and surreal drama. June's affairs and Miller's obsessive dependence fueled the material for his early autobiographical novels. In 1930, with June's encouragement and a small allowance from an admirer, Miller sailed to Paris, beginning the exile that would define his greatest work. Paris, in the 1930s, became Miller's liberation and crucible. Living in cheap hotels and borrowed rooms, he immersed himself in the city's anarchic artistic milieu, befriending Anaïs Nin, whose diaries immortalized their intense, erotic, and intellectual affair, Alfred Perles, Michael Frankel, and Lawrence Durrell. Broke, hungry, and ecstatic, Miller wrote feverishly, completing Tropic of Cancer in 1934, a book that fused autobiography, philosophy, and explicit sexuality into a joyous rant against civilization. Published in Paris by Obelisk Press, it was banned in the United States for obscenity until 1961. The sequel, Tropic of Capricorn, 1939, and the trilogy The Rosy Crucifixion, Sexus, Plexus, Nexus, further mined his New York and Paris years, particularly the tormented marriage to June, fictionalized as Mona, portraying her as both muse and destroyer. Miller's personal life during and after Paris remained chaotic. He married and divorced 3 more times. Artist and writer Janina Martha Lepska in 1944, with whom he had 2 children, Valentine and Tony. Singer Eve McClure in 1953, and finally Japanese pianist Hoki Tokuda in 1967, a union that lasted 10 years, despite vast cultural differences. His relationships with women were marked by idealization, dependency, and frequent disillusionment. He celebrated female sexuality while often reducing lovers to archetypal roles in his writing. Fatherhood, too, was distant. He provided sporadic support and saw his children infrequently. In 1940, at Durrell's invitation, Miller travelled to Greece, an experience that produced The Colossus of Marousi, 1941, his most lyrical and affirmative book. Returning to America as war broke out, he settled on the California coast, first in Big Sur, where he lived ascetically in a cabin, painting watercolors and hosting a stream of admirers. There he wrote reflective works like The Air-Conditioned Nightmare, 1945, a scathing critique of American materialism. Fame arrived belatedly in the 1960s after the obscenity trials ended, and his books flooded the US market, making him an unlikely counterculture hero despite his growing conservatism and disdain for hippies. Plagued by arthritis, financial worries, and the deaths of close friends, Miller spent his final decades in Pacific Palisades, surrounded by books, correspondence, and young acolytes. He died on June 7, 1980, at age 88, from circulatory complications. His life, marked by poverty and abundance, exile and homecoming, ecstatic creation and bitter regret, mirrored the vital, contradictory spirit of his writing. A lifelong affirmation of life in all its messiness, sensuality, and absurdity, achieved through relentless self-exposure and an unyielding refusal to conform. Henry Miller remains one of the most renowned yet divisive figures in 20th century literature. Often lauded for his daring explorations of personal freedom and eroticism, as well as condemned for his unabashed explicit content, Miller's works invite a range of interpretations that reflect the tumultuous societal changes of his time. This essay will compare and contrast various elements of his literary style, thematic preoccupations, and their underlying philosophies across his most significant works, particularly focusing on Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn. Henry Miller's literary style can broadly be characterized by its unabashed frankness, experimental structure, and an amalgamation of genres that defy traditional classifications. His prose is recognizable for its lyrical quality, often weaving together stream of consciousness narration with vivid, sometimes surreal imagery. In Tropic of Cancer, for instance, Miller employs a fragmentary style that mirrors the chaos of his life in Paris. The narrative flows like a meandering conversation, filled with digressions that reveal not just the external world, but the interior landscapes of the characters. This technique allows readers to engage deeply with Miller's philosophical musings, as well as providing a window into the author's psyche. Conversely, Tropic of Capricorn exhibits a more structured narrative arc, reflecting Miller's life in New York. While it retains the spontaneous and confessional tone of Tropic of Cancer, there is a more pronounced sense of linear progression, which allows readers to trace Miller's evolution from his earlier life to his experiences as an artist. The contrast in structure between the two novels serves to enhance their thematic concerns. While Tropic of Cancer represents liberation and the sheer joy of existence amidst chaos, Tropic of Capricorn initially encapsulates the sense of entrapment as Miller grapples with the constraints of American society. Miller's exploration of personal freedom is perhaps the most vital theme in both Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn. In the former, freedom is primarily associated with the liberating experience of living abroad and the pursuit of artistic expression. The bohemian lifestyle that Miller describes in Paris not only liberates him from societal norms, but also serves as a crucible for his creativity. The characters that populate this world, artists, vagabonds, and lovers, embody a spirit of unfettered exploration, both physical and philosophical. This exploration manifests in candid discussions about sexuality, identity, and the meaning of life, emphasizing the notion that true freedom lies within the rejection of societal constraints. In stark contrast, Tropic of Capricorn delves into the theme of confinement and the struggle against societal expectations. Miller crafts a narrative that exposes the suffocating nature of American life during the early 20th century, detailing the pressures of conformity, materialism, and rigid morality. The protagonist's journey often reflects a conflict between the desire for freedom and the weight of social obligations. As he recounts his experiences in New York, Miller articulates a profound disillusionment with the American dream. A dream that promises liberty, but often delivers a stifling existence. The interplay of confinement and aspiration creates a palpable tension within the narrative, compelling readers to consider the cost of societal progress against the yearning for authenticity. Miller's works are unapologetically candid with respect to sexuality, which serves both as a subject of exploration and a vehicle for greater themes surrounding identity. In Tropic of Cancer, Miller's prose is rife with sexual freedom that serves as a metaphor for the search for self. The frank depictions of sexual encounters strip away the stigma associated with sexuality and elevate it to an act of artistic expression. For Miller, sexuality is intricately linked to the human condition. Through these experiences, he discovers aspects of his identity that transcend the boundaries of societal expectation. The celebration of eroticism in Tropic of Cancer positions it as a fundamental component of freedom, self-discovery, and creative expression. In contrast, Tropic of Capricorn addresses the repercussions of societal repression upon one's sexual identity. The protagonist's struggles with sexual desire unfold against the backdrop of an America that often stifles such passions. Miller's vivid recounting of his experiences in a puritanical society elevates the discussion of sexuality into a moral and philosophical inquiry. He examines how repression leads to a disconnected sense of self, resulting in an internal conflict that mirrors his external struggles against conformity. The stark juxtaposition of uninhibited sexuality in Tropic of Cancer with the repressive context of Tropic of Capricorn ultimately raises questions about the relationship between societal norms, personal identity, and the expression of desire. Both novels exhibit an overarching existential philosophy, a characteristic that aligns Miller with the broader literary movements of the 20th century. Existentialism, concerned with individual freedom, choice, and the absurdity of existence, manifests profoundly in Miller's narratives. Tropic of Cancer embodies a philosophy of living in the moment, seizing experiences without the weight of morality or societal expectation. The carefree attitude of Parisian life encourages characters to embrace spontaneity, crafting a narrative that celebrates the joys of existence even amidst chaos. This perspective brings to the forefront the question of what it means to live authentically in a world that often seeks to impose definitions and limitations upon individuals. On the other hand, Tropic of Capricorn grapples with the burden of existence under a deterministic societal framework. Here, Miller reveals the absurdity of the struggle against one's circumstances, highlighting the irony of seeking freedom in a world that imposes limitations. The existential themes of despair and isolation surface as the protagonist confronts the absurdity of his situation and the external societal forces that restrict autonomy. This philosophical conflict serves to deepen the reader's understanding of Miller's view of humanity as inherently flawed, yet striving for connection and authenticity. Through a close analysis of Henry Miller's Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn, it becomes evident that his literary prowess lies in his ability to articulate complex themes of freedom, confinement, sexuality, and existentialism in a style that is both evocative and provocative. The comparison of the two works reveals the dynamic interplay between personal experience and societal context, illustrating how these elements shape identity and creative expression. Ultimately, Miller's contributions to literature challenge readers to confront their understanding of freedom and the complexities of human desires. While the celebratory tone of Tropic of Cancer beckons individuals toward a life of authenticity and spontaneity, Tropic of Capricorn serves as a cautionary tale about the repercussions of societal norms, inviting introspection about the cost of conformity. As both a literary figure and a philosopher, Miller's work continues to resonate, highlighting the eternal struggle of individuals seeking to define themselves against the backdrop of a confining world. Through his candid explorations of life, art, and sexuality, Miller remains a pivotal figure in contemporary literature, inspiring future generations to challenge boundaries and seek their own paths to authenticity.